Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Here I'm Lulu Ulwasiro from First Group. I would like to give you an example of experimental research. The title is The Effectiveness of Using Hand Puppet to Improve Student Speaking Skills and Student Motivation in Performing Agency Skills. Okay, here there are seven material. I will explain to you. The first is background of study, the second is research questions, and the third is hypothesis, the fourth is research design, the fifth is instrument, the sixth is data collection, and the last is data analysis. Okay, for background of study is realizing that speaking is very important for English learners. It is essential for English teachers to encourage the students to speak. They seem to have difficulties in deciding what techniques and media must be used and how to teach speaking appropriately. But they must be able to find out the ways of how to make speaking easier and be fun activities for the students to learn. In this case, teachers have responsibilities to guide the students during the learning process and to give motivation to them to improve their English, especially in speaking skills. To help that problem, there are so many teaching media to help the teacher deliver the materials or to make the students easily get the concept of the material. Puppet as one of teaching media shows characters of something and their detail. Moreover, puppet is fun. There are so many kinds of puppet that is used by the teachers such as hand puppet, shadow puppet, finger puppet, and etc. It gives benefit to the teacher because he or she has an example model in presenting his or her material to their students. Here, researchers use hand puppets as media to improve students' speaking skills and students' motivation in performing agency skills. Okay, for the research questions here, there are two questions. The first is, how does significant difference improvement in speaking between the students who are taught using hand puppets in performing agency pairs and the ones taught using conventional techniques? The second is, how does the implementation of hand puppets improve the students' motivation in performing agency pairs? Okay, for hypothesis in this study is each one is teaching speaking by using hand puppets is effective to improve student speaking skills and students' motivation in performing agency pairs. And HO on this study is teaching speaking by using hand puppets is not effective to improve student speaking skills and students' motivation in performing agency pairs. Okay, the research design in this study is experimental research, of course, and the experimental research is the way to find the causal relationship between two factors, which are raised by the researcher. In doing an experimental research, usually two groups are involved and compared to find the influence of the treatment. As cited in Mark's case, experimental research involves comparing two groups on one outcome measure to test some hypotheses regarding causation. Okay, here in this study, researchers used the quasi-experimental design named pretest, post-test, non-equivalent group design. The study used pretest and post-test to obtain the data according to Bass. The design of the experiment can be described as follows. Like this, experimental group O1x1, O2, and control group O1x2 and O3. As can be seen from the diagram above, there was two groups implied. One group was the experimental group. It received a treatment, or X1, while the second group was the control group. It received another treatment, or X2. Both of the groups received pretest, or O1, to obtain first data. Then, the experimental group is given treatment of using hand puppet and picture, or X1, while the control group was using conventional teaching with picture, or X2. Finally, both of the groups are given post-test, or O2, to obtain second data. The effectiveness of hand puppet and the relative improvement of the two groups could be seen from the gain score that is the post-test mean the pre-test score of the two groups. Okay, the instrument of the study here is a tool to gather the data. Herlinger said in IU said that an instrument plays an important role in a study in the sense that reliability of the instrument will influence the reliability of the data obtained. Then, in the study used the form of test, observation journal, and tryout. For data collection here, there are three. The first is test, the second is observation journal, and the second is tryout. Test here, there are pre-test and post-test. Pre-test was given to both control group and experimental group. Post-test was conducted after the treatment. It was also given to both control group and experimental group. It was taken as measurement tool to measure students' teaching achievement and students' motivation before and after the treatment was conducted. The second is observation journal. Is to know the different condition of teaching learning activity between the experimental group and the control group. The last is tryouts. The tryouts function is to determine the extent to which it discriminates between individuals who are different. Thus, the test which has been designed was to represent the sample of testers. Validity test is test validity, the degree to which a test measures what is claimed to be measured. Okay, data analysis here is after get data from pre-test and post-test, researcher observe it. The objective of this study is tested using t-test. It was to answer the problem that claimed whether there were significant difference of student score in speaking ability and students' motivation between the students who are taught using hand puppets and those who are conventional techniques. Before that, researcher compute the difference between two means of the group. Researcher compute the mean, standard deviation, and variance student score of the experimental group and the control group in pre-test and post-test. Okay, then researcher calculates the normality, the homogeneity, and t-test of the experimental group and control group in both pre-test and post-test. If the distribution score was normal, it can be said that the distribution of the test was valid. The following formula was used. X2 is T squared, K is the number of students, I is rating score that given by a student to a subject, OE is the frequency from observation of each class interval, EA is the instant frequency. And in order to check the data homogeneity, the following formula was used. Here F is homogeneity and PH is the higher variance and PF is the smaller variance. Meanwhile, after collecting the data, researchers analyzed the data using the statistical analysis. The post-test means the pre-test of the experimental group and the post-test means the pre-test of the control group. Here, X student score of the experimental group and Y student score of the control group, and is the number of students in the test, and the symbol like this is the term of. Then researcher calculate the individual score deviation square of mean of both groups. The formula is for the meaning of the symbol is X student score of the experimental group and X2 is standard deviation, Y is student score of the control group and the number of students in the test, and the last is the sample. Okay, in this study, the influence of using hand puppets and pictures to teach speaking and students' motivation in performing agentic pairs as follows. Or the meaning of the symbol is T value, Mx is the mean score experimental of group, My is the mean score of control group, and the mean of x2 is total standard. I mean, the sum of x2 is total standard deviation of the experimental group, and sum y2 is total standard deviation of the control group. And nx is the number of students of the experimental group, and the last is ny is the number of students of the control group. To interpret the t obtained, it will be consulted with the critical value of the t-table to check whether the difference is significant or not. In education research, the 5% of 0.05 level of significance was used. If the t-value was higher than t-table, it means that there was a significant difference between the two means. On the contrary, if t-value was lower than t-table, it means that there is no significant difference between two means. Okay, okay guys, thank you for your nice attention. That's from me, Belas Aisyah. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.